Hello, anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a Weekend Warrior Rebel Stakes Day, a reflection on the late pick four. I don't normally go back and look at my Weekend Warrior videos, mostly because I'm looking at a full card or a sequence of races, and it would be a lot to unpack. But because a lot of people are catching Kentucky Derby fever, I thought that it would be important to take a look back at the winners of the day, because if we're not seeing these horses run in the Kentucky Derby, they might run on the same day on the undercard or another just big race day, and these talented horses will be back on big days, and big days like this just tend to pay well. So I thought it would be important to go back, look at the winners, and see what we can unpack in their past performances. So before we get started, just a little video agenda. First thing, a little value proposition, why the process is helpful for horse players. Again, big days like these have big payouts. The late pick four that I looked at in my last video ended up paying $4,277. Lots of these horses have cases that can be made for why they won. All the winners, I wasn't totally shocked. There was something on paper that said this horse can run big today. So let's just try and dial it in and hopefully come up with a big score of our own. After the value proposition, we'll recap the races 9 through 12, which was that late pick four sequence. We'll look over my selections, my pace projections versus the actual pace when the race was ran. And then we'll look at the eventual winners with notes to learn from. Then we'll wrap it up with key takeaways, what I'm going to learn from reviewing these races, what I hope to pass along to any viewers, and questions you should ask yourself when deciphering a race. So a little on the value to the viewer. I just want to get everyone to learn from their incorrect selections. In every losing race, there is a nugget of wisdom to discover. That's why I go back and look at the winners, get a good look at their racing form, see what patterns or trends the horses had and when they run big. It's a tough game and your losses will come, but be determined to learn why horses win. When you lose a race, don't get down and think that the game is too hard. Stop and look at the winner and take as long as you need to. Sometimes it takes me more than that day to go back, look at a horse that won, and come up with the reason why the horse won. You know, there's a lot of information in there, and you just got to be patient and be determined that you can learn the game and you can pick up some of the patterns of winning horses. Going back and looking at the past performance after the race, seeing and recognizing those patterns and trends of the winning horses and what they possess, look for red flags on your selection that you may have ignored. So one of the red flags that I noticed on one of my horses' first mission, I believe it was in the second leg of the pick four, one thing I noticed about the horse was that it was talented, it was classy, but it was coming off a layoff, and every time that horse had come off a layoff previously, it did not fire a top effort. It was trained by a top trainer, has its usual top jockey aboard, but I just noticed that the horse just never ran its best race off of a little bit of a layoff. I kind of ignored that or dismissed it a little bit, and the horse ended up not winning. Look for what you disregarded on the winner, what part of their past performances you didn't favor, and how much emphasis you placed on that bit of information. Was it a rising class? Was it a distance change? Did you expect a speed duel, etc.? So in one of the races, horse number 4, Alexander Helios, won the race. What made me not pick the horse that race was the step up in class and its speed duel potential. I thought that it was facing a classier group of horses, even though the speed figure it ran was very competitive. And I thought there would be more speed in the race, which did not pan out, as we'll see. But the rising class is ultimately what turned me off of the horse late. I had it in my contenders early. I ended up tossing it because I did not want to take too many horses in the race. But at that price, running those good figures, well, obviously was one worth keeping on. Compare how the race was run to what you projected. Which horses did make the lead, duel, or take back? As you'll see in many of these races, the pace and duel scenario did not shape up like I thought. There weren't many like suicidal duels that I projected that actually took place. So maybe favoring more talented front runners is something I should focus a little bit more on. Which front runners stayed on, meaning which ones ran fast early and didn't slow down too much late and was battling for the win near the end of the race, and which races did any closers make up ground? Were closers able to rally from 5 or 10 lengths back and contend for the lead or contend for the win? Or were they just unable to catch up to those front runners? And that can be a track bias, that could be a talent level of the horse themselves, but did any closers make up ground? If they did, go back and look at those past performances and see what their history tells you. The future holds similar cards. On big days, you will see similar fields with many of these horses and cards with several competitive stakes races, so finding patterns or themes for the winners may serve you well. So going back and looking at the first race of the pick four sequence, it was race number 9, the grade 3 Honeybee for fillies 3 years old, going a mile in the 16th. This was my projected pace up here. I had the 13 leading with the 7 in second, the 9 in third, and so on with the 2 in the back of the field. I predicted a lot of speed, very front and heavy. I expected a suicidal duel. I asked myself who's going to stay in this race, which front runners will be running on late, vying for the win, and who can get a good trip and rally late. Here's a diagram of the actual race, the pace that actually was ran. And as you can see, the 13 did get the lead like I projected. The 7 was nowhere near the lead, near the back of the pack early at odds of 112 to 1. The 9, as you'll look down here, look forward, missed the break. So the other speed in this race actually missed the break, did not contend for the lead. So that kind of left the 13 all alone up front. And then I had the 1 and 4th. It was third early, so about right on that. But you can kind of look and compare to what I projected the pace to be to how it actually panned out. Down here are the times that the race was ran in by the leader. So the first quarter mile was in 23.19 seconds. To the half mile was 46.87 seconds. And down below, you'll see the splits. So the next quarter mile was run a little bit slower than the first, 23.68 seconds. To the 3-quarter was a minute 11.81. That quarter mile was run in 24.94. So as you can see from the first quarter to the splits, this race was slowly slowing down on the front end. To the mile, a minute 37 and 10 seconds. That quarter mile was 25.29. And a final time of 143.63 and a final 16th of a mile in 6.53 seconds, which roughly translates into a 26-second final quarter. So as you can see in this race, each quarter was slowing down quite a bit. My order of preference was the 1 with the 6 or 12 in second or third, with the 13, 11, and 5 in fourth, fifth, and sixth. No particular order there. When I do a slash, that indicates the next tier down. So I had the 1 in front with in second or third place, the 6 or the 12 in either order, slash third, fourth, and fifth place, 13, 11, and 5. I like them in that order, but no particular order. Hard to separate them, but I did not have these as win contenders. The actual order of finish was 12, 13, 1, and I have the 1 in bold green here because this is the horse that I actually had on my pick 4 ticket. Ended up running third by about a length. 2 and 5 to round out the top 5. Again, number 9, look forward and miss the break. And something to note, the horses that were first, second, third, and fourth early in the race ended up finishing first, second, and third, fourth. Not the same order that they were at this point, but just something I noticed and maybe something about Oaklawn Park that it maybe favors some of those front runners. So now let's take a look at the eventual winner. Number 12, Quiet Side, 8 to 1 on the morning line. This horse was closer to the pace than I expected. However, it had shown ability to keep with any pace before. As you can see, whether it's running sprints, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, mile and a 16th races, this horse is within a length and a quarter, 3.5 lengths, 2 lengths, 1 length, a head, a length and a half, 2.5, a neck, a half length, and all different fractions for those races. So seemingly no matter how fast the races run, this horse is able to keep up and stay on well. So this horse was a little bit more tactical than I gave it credit for. This horse was favored in a grade 1 after winning on debut. So this horse was obviously promising. So debut race, first time ever racing, comes out and wins by 6 lengths. Comes out in its second career start in a grade 1, which is the top level of racing. And if you follow my cursor over here, this little asterisk next to these numbers indicates that the horse was the favorite in the race at 2.8 to 1 odds. So second start in a grade 1 in an 11 horse field, this horse was favored. So obviously there was buzz around this horse. This horse was talented, and to be favored in a grade 1 in your second ever start bodes pretty well, and something that I did not quite emphasize quite enough. This horse had been running second to top fillies in the division, so against the best 3-year-old fillies, Good Cheer and Immersive. As you can see right here, Immersive won this race. This horse was second to it. Immersive won this race. This horse was third to it. Good Cheer, one of the best horses out there. This horse ran second to one of the best. And this third place finisher, see how it's italicized, also came back to win its next race. That's what it means when a horse is italicized. This horse also had no layoffs. It was running regularly, which tells me the horse is sound and healthy. The last 2 races were spaced, nearly 2 months between races, so maybe this horse was fresh. While it didn't have a layoff line going across here, this horse wasn't racing every 3 or 4 weeks, but closer to 7, 8 weeks apart, which just tells me that it's regular enough to where the horse is healthy, and it's spread out enough to where the horse is able to rest and recover and come back with another big effort. This horse did have traffic in its last race, and there was a jockey change to a 20% winning jockey. So not to knock the last jockey, but the jockey change just may be better with certain riding styles and maybe better able to avoid some traffic. So anytime there's a jockey change with traffic, that's something you should note. A bullet workout coming into the race, 5 furlongs and 58 and 4/5 of a second. If you look down here, this black bullet indicates the best workout at that track on that day for that distance. So this horse's last race was January 25th. This workout was February 16th before this race on February 23rd. The horse ran 5 furlongs in 58 and 4/5 seconds, best of 15 that day. So the horse was obviously fit and feeling well. Race number 10, the Grade 3 Razorback for 4-year-olds and upwards, going a mile in the 16th. Again, here's my pace projection, 2:43.69. It did end up coming 2:43 like I anticipated. Look at the fractional times, 23.81 to the first quarter, 23.79 to the second quarter, so about on par, just a hair faster. 23.82 to the next quarter, so not slowing down very much, running pretty evenly, much faster than the previous race. And then the last quarter, 24.35, and a final 16th in 6.11, which roughly translates to almost 25 seconds for the final quarter mile. Order of preference, I had the 5, 3 with 2 8, so the 5 or 3 to win, with the 2 or 8 in third or fourth place behind these two. The actual order of finish, 4, 2, 3, 6, 5. Again, 3 and 5 were the ones I had, so my horses finished third and fifth. I was correct in my pace projection. However, once again, horses that were 1, 2, 3 early finished 1, 2, 3. So again, maybe Oaklawn just favoring that front running style, but it's also a Grade 3, so these horses are talented. The front runners are talented, and to be a talented front runner, you have to be able to stay on late, even when running fast early. Taking a look at the winner, number 4, Alexander Helios, 10 to 1 on the morning line. Most recent race ran a top speed figure off an 8-month layoff. So if we see this line right here in between dates of races, that indicates a break of at least 2, maybe 3 months. But if we look, his most recent race was January 18th of 2025. The race before that was May 11th, 2024. So there was an 8-month gap between its second most recent start to its most recent start. The horse ran a 95 speed figure, and if we look up in its lifetime career, this is his best career speed figure at 95, so matched it or ran its best off that 8-month layoff. This is a 5-year-old horse, and the horses tend to peak between their 3 and 5-year-old years, somewhere around their 4-year-old years, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, depends on the horse. But this horse coming back, there's no reason to think that this horse is over the hill yet, and especially after seeing that first race back where it did run a career top buyer, there's plenty of reason to think that this horse is going well and could improve. 3 works since that last race, including a bullet, which was 5 furlongs and 59 seconds flat. So its most recent race, January 18th. If we look down at the workout line, January 11th workout, so that was before that race, February 1st. So this was after that most recent race, 4 furlongs and 50 seconds and 3/5, and then a 5 furlong workout in 1 minute and 1 second flat, and then a 5 furlong workout in 59 seconds flat. The bullet, best of 11 that day. So this 5 furlong workout was 2 seconds faster than this other 5 furlong workout, telling me that maybe the horse is improving. This is the horse I was stepping up in class, which ultimately made me decide to not take this horse on my ticket. But if we look, the trainer is Safi Joseph Jr., who's a 25% winning trainer. And to win 25% of your races, that means you spot your horses where they win often. So for him to take this horse and throw him into Grade 3, to become a 25% trainer, you have to spot your horses appropriately. So maybe this was an appropriate spot according to this 25% trainer, who is obviously good at what he does. So I should have taken a closer look at the step up in class, but who's sending him there? A really talented trainer. He must know if the horse is ready for this level. This horse was a front running type, showed last race he can rate, which means show speed, but doesn't have to be on the lead, can sit right off of a leader. And then when the jockey tells the horse to go and pass that horse, he can do that. It was reasonable to think this horse could match or improve off of that last effort based on the workouts, the trainer, and the spacing between races. Race number 11, the main event, the Grade 2 Rebel, going a mile in the 16th as well. My pace projection, 8, 11, 7, 1, 9, 5. And as you can see, it came 5, 8, 9, 11. The 8 and the 11 were up there. The 9 was a little closer than I thought. And as you can see, the horses I took on my pick for were closers. I thought there was going to be a suicidal speed duel, too fast for any of these horses to hang on. However, if we look at the fractional times, 22.47 seconds to the first quarter, very, very fast. 23.25 to the next quarter, very fast again. And then they're slowing down quite a bit, 25.22 to the next quarter, 25.5 to the next quarter, which is interesting because they slowed down a lot from the second quarter mile to the third, but then kind of kept that pace finishing up the race. So they went very fast early, slowed down, but didn't keep on slowing down, kind of maintained that speed once they did get that little breather. And then wrapped up the final 16th in 6.57 seconds, which roughly equates to 26 and a half, maybe a 27-second final quarter, should they have kept going. But with those early fractions, I would expect them to slow down quite a bit after that. Order of preference, 13, 6, 3, 4. The actual finish was 1, 5, 3, 6, 13, so my horses ran third, fourth, and fifth. Number 5, Madikit Road, the front runner in this race, was dead set on a very fast lead, 22.47 seconds. Those are fractions you'll see in a 6 furlong sprint race, and this horse was dead set on just getting out to that lead, going very, very fast. And for that horse to actually hold on for a second was quite impressive to me. So let's take a look at the winner. Number 1, Coal Battle. If you go back and look at my Kentucky Derby prospect playlist I made, video number 3 was on Coal Battle, where I really break down this horse's career thus far and its pedigree and really break down its potential for the Kentucky Derby. Now, this video is back near the end of December, maybe early January, so lots has happened since then, and this horse just continues to improve. This horse has been outrunning his pedigree, as I mentioned in that video. This pedigree tells me that this horse would most likely like sprinting, but the fact that it's been outrunning that pedigree, running very well in mile and a mile in the 16th races, just tells me this horse is more talented than maybe looks on paper. This horse has showed versatility, able to lead or close with grit and determination. As you can see, its most recent race before the Rebel, this horse won wire to wire, but before that had closed in its previous races. And if you go back and watch those replays, this horse looks really good doing it. The horse looks very determined, head down, ears pricked, and just really charging late. So visually impressive closing wins. This horse is undefeated on dirt. If we look in the top right, this is his career on dirt fast tracks, 2 for 2, and wet dirt tracks, also 2 for 2. So whether wet or dry, this horse is thriving on the dirt. His 2 poor races were on the turf. If we look here at his low speed figures, 56 and 64, come over here, see these T's and circles, that indicates it was on a turf or grass race course. So maybe this horse just doesn't prefer to run on the turf. Horse was also 1 for 1 at Oaklawn Park, as you can see up here. Matched his career best speed figure here in 84 and beat a next out winner. As you can see, Coal Battle in first place here. Look at the third place finisher. Kale's Angel came back to win his next race as well. The final race, race number 12, a maiden special weight for Arkansas bred horses doing a 6 furlong sprint. On the pace, I had the 11, 10, 8, 9, 5. It came 8, 10, 11, 5, 9. So I had the top horses, just not in the exact order. Fractional times, 21.76 seconds to the first quarter, 23.92 to the next quarter, and about 25.5 seconds if you combine these final 8s together for the final quarter. So 21.7, 23.9, 25.5. So this race, like most sprints, just gradually slowed down throughout. Order of preference, I like the 10, 9, 5. The actual finish was 11, 7, 9. The only horse I had on my pick 4 ran third. Number 2, 13, and 14 ended up scratching from this race, so they are not on this board at all. The favorite that ended up winning the race, number 11, was in third place early, so stalking those cheaper horses from third place, letting them tire out, then passing them late. The 7, 9, and 12 that finished behind the winner were 6th, 5th, and 8th place early. So the horse that stalked the pace ended up winning, and the horses that ran 2nd, 3rd, and 4th closed from the back of the pack. And again, in some of these lower caliber races, some of those front runners aren't as talented, which is why they're in those lower level races. They can't carry that speed as far, so it makes sense that those early front runners, the 8 and the 10, would fade. Taking a look at the winner, number 11, Touchdown Arkansas, 10 to 1 on the morning line. This horse debuted in an $150,000 stakes race, showed speed, then faded. So if we look here, this horse has only raced $150,000 state restricted race, showed a little bit of speed, was in 3rd place early, 4th place early by a length, and then ended up fading badly. This was back in April 2024, so almost a year layoff. Coming into a maiden race, this horse was dropping in class, making 2nd career start after that 10-month layoff. This horse, if you look up top, was a $20,000 purchase, which was the most expensive purchase in the field. The purchase price was 4 times higher than the stud fee, and that's just something I don't quite know what to do with yet, but whenever you see a stud fee, so $5,000 to breed to B jersey, when they buy the horse for 5 to 10 or more times the stud fee, that usually indicates that the purchasers saw something very promising about the horse at sale or auction. Highest Tomlinson figure for the distance in the field. If you look up here for the distance, a 6 furlong race, these numbers are called Tomlinson ratings, and I have a video, part 3, in my How to Read a Racing Form playlist where I break down this section. But these numbers indicate, based on pedigree, how much a horse will or will not like a certain condition. So how much will this horse like the distance? It got a 418. And any number over 320, again, that's based on the pedigree. Any number over 320 is considered good. So this horse should like the distance, maybe doesn't like the turf so much, should like the synthetic a lot based on pedigree, and should also like the wet track based on pedigree. The horse has yet to run on any of those, so to be determined, but based on pedigree, this is the rating it gets, and anything over 320 is considered good. This horse had a quick workout on February 6th over this track, Oaklawn Park. It was 4 furlongs and 47 and 3/5 seconds. So follow my cursor up here. You see February 6th workout, a quick one. And then after that, actually a 4 furlong slow workout. And I don't mind those when it shows the ability to run quick. Sometimes a slower workout is just to stretch the horse's legs out, maybe not overexert them too much, especially these young horses coming off of a layoff. This horse was facing a field of horses that have shown little in their ability to win. So in some of these maiden races, you'll look at a racing form and it's hard to make a case for any horse based on the merits. So you got to get a little bit creative and look for other aspects in the racing form that indicates that the horse might be ready to win. Instead of looking at the run line, look at the purchase price. Look at where they debuted. Look at the odds on the horse that debuted. Look at their workouts since the last race. Look at the trainer stats. Look at the jockey stats, etc., etc. Tomlinson figures. You got to get a little creative or just pass the race entirely when there's not a lot of racing form to go off of. So that's it for the races. I'm going to break down my key takeaways. First, bet responsibly and structure your tickets accordingly. Understand your level of confidence, meaning how much do you really like a horse and how much do you think his chances of winning are? Are his odds reflective of that? If you really like a long shot and he's 50-1 and you know he doesn't have a great chance to win, but you like those odds, feel free to take it. If you really like a horse, you think it's unbeatable, but it's 1-9 odds, maybe you don't beat it and it still ends up winning anyway. So just understand your level of confidence based on its odds. Also understand your chances of winning. For example, I was confident in my selections for this pick four. I was confident that the races were very competitive, and I was confident that picking 4 races in a row is very difficult. So considering all this, a $12 ticket was suitable for my confidence levels. I did not want to spend more than that. Big days might be best splitting with a friend or several friends because as you saw, that pick 4 sequence paid over $4,000 and all the horses had reasons looking back for why they could win the race. Every race loss can be insight gained. Look back at past performances after the race. Don't just hang your head. Take a look at the winner. Go back in the racing form. Look at some things maybe you didn't emphasize enough and understand why that horse won the race. Not all horses that show speed are determined to take the lead. I learned that today. I pictured a couple of suicide duels and thought some closers would get the advantage. Every jockey can read the racing form and knows if they go out and try to match speeds with that number 5 Madicate Road, that their horse was destined to run last. So to save some of their endurance, they take back a little bit and try to put in a run late. And sometimes horses are trying that for the first time, running off the pace, and they don't like that. One thing I do is I'll write BOL on some horses, and that stands for best on lead. So whenever a horse is best on the lead, I make note of that because if the horse has to take back, it might not run a top figure. If a horse has shown an ability to run from off the pace, even though some of its better races are on the lead, that's a positive sign, like Coal Battle. It had one on the lead, but it had run very well off the lead in closing as well. Higher quality speed type horses are higher quality for a reason. Several races I predicted a meltdown, but better horses can stay after going fast early, such as at number 5 Madicate Road in the Rebel, ran super fast early, 22 and change, 23 and change for the first couple of quarters, and was able to hang on. High caliber races call for high quality horses, and high quality horses can keep running fast after running fast early. So don't just fade front runners because you think there's a lot of them. Look at the classiest ones, the ones that have shown grit and an ability to stay on late after running fast early. Lower level races should be more subjected to the speed horses slowing down more. So this is the flip side of that. In lower level races, those speed horses aren't as high quality as the higher level horses. So when they run too fast, they're probably going to slow down more often. Unless something in their past performances tells you otherwise, you can expect perhaps more closers in low level races where there does look like there's going to be a lot of speed and going a far distance. Is the track favoring front runners more than typical, or are the front runners of high quality? So again, as we saw in these grade 3s and grade 2s, the front runners ran on very well in each of the races. In the final race, the maiden special weight, first 2 horses finished well out of the money when the third stocking type ended up winning the race, and second, third, and fourth place finishers closed past those early cheap front runners. Know the run-ups for each track when looking at the past performances. It may skew the early fractions. So if you go back and look at the fractions of these races back on my PowerPoint, you'll see there's a run-up and it's about 60 feet or 80 feet. So that means when the gate opens, the horses have 60 or 80 feet before the timer actually starts. Fractions for the first quarter mile, the horse already is at full speed by the time the clock starts. So some of those early fractions might be a little bit skewed quick, where some tracks don't have a run up and the clock starts right when the gate opens, and those times may seem a little bit slower. So factor that into your handicapping when looking at horses coming from other tracks. Rule of 24s in routes. This is something I do personally. Horses going a mile or a mile and a 16th should be able to run each quarter mile in about 24 seconds. So if a horse is running the first quarter mile much quicker than 24, how much slower than 24 seconds is that horse going to run the later quarter miles once it used up a lot of that energy running faster earlier? Or if they run slower than 24, how much slower than 24 seconds early, and how much faster should they be able to run those quarter miles later in the race? A fifth of a second faster or slower is significant in horse racing. It may not seem like much, but it's roughly one horse length per fifth of a second. So don't scoff at a fifth of a second. It really does add up and make a difference over the course of a race. So for example, with the rule of 24s, if a horse runs a mile in 23 seconds to the first quarter, 23 and 4/5 of a second to the second quarter, 24 and 2/5 of a second to the third quarter, what should the last quarter mile time be for a good time? So it might be 25 seconds. Would 26 seconds be good? Would 27 seconds be good? This is where you're going to have to compare each of the horses in that race and figure out what time is going to get the job done in this race. I would personally like to see maybe 25 and 2/5 of a second here, but it really depends on the track and the horse and the class level. If a horse runs a mile in 24 and 4/5 seconds to the first quarter, 25 seconds to the second quarter, 24 seconds to the third quarter, so speeding back up, how fast would a good quarter mile final time be here? Now, I would say somewhere in 24 and change because they went so slow early, but again, depends on the horse, the course, the surface, the distance, etc. For front runners, how fast are they going when they have gone fast before? So it may look fast on paper, there may be lots of ones in their run lines, but how fast were they actually going? Were they running 23 seconds early, or were they running 24 and still on the lead? And how fast were they going late in the race after running different speeds early? Compare and contrast. If the horse is running 27 seconds in the final quarter after running 23 and change in the first, and it looks like this horse might be able to get away with a 24-second lead this race, maybe the horse can actually run that final quarter mile time a lot faster than when it had to run 23 seconds to the first quarter. For closers, what paces can they keep up with and still show some late kick? So closers usually show a lot of good kick when they can run slow early and then save all that energy for the final stretch run. But can those closers run up close to a pace that's going closer to 23 seconds and still show a late kick? How fast can they go early and still show that late kick? Look back in their past performances. Were they up close on a 23-second opening quarter and ran a 24 flat second final quarter? You just got to compare how fast were they running early to how much did they have left in the tank late. Comparability between runners and picture the race scenario. What horses are in good form, meaning running good races recently and on an upward trend of speed figures? Is the horse second off of a layoff? Sometimes horses first off of a layoff don't run their best race, and second time out they can. Or is it third off a layoff? Maybe the first race off the layoff was okay, the second one was better, maybe the third off a layoff it runs even better than that. Horses tend to either build or regress off of their previous race. What horses are on their preferred surface and or track? Which horses were doing something different, a different class, distance, surface, track, trainer, jockey, etc. Are horses in a situation where they have run their best races before? Go back, that's why it's called past performances. We're looking in the past to determine what's going to happen today. Under what circumstances does each horse run its best race? So a lot of times I'll go back, look at that highest speed figure and compare that race's situation to today's race. Is it similar in which ways? Is it different in which ways? And ask myself if the horse can replicate that race where it ran its best before. What horses might benefit from the change in distance today? So maybe there's a sprinter that was closing and it looks like if the race was a little bit longer, it would have been able to pass the front runners. Maybe the horse is cutting back in distance, running a mile and an eighth and just getting barely tired late and losing by a neck or a nose the last few times. And maybe the cutback, this horse will be able to finish out to the end. What front running horses went too fast last time and tired out late? Kind of brings us back to the top. Did they run 23, 23, 24 and change and then 28 and get past? Maybe if the pace scenario shows that they can run a little bit slower, still maintain that lead, they'll have more stamina late in the race. What closing horses were trying to run down horses that got to go slow early last time? So if we look at these second fractions, if your horse is a closer and the jockey doesn't realize that the race is being run slow and he's way too far back, these front running horses that are running 24 and 4/5, 25, 24 are going to have a lot more stamina left in the tank late in the race, and that closer is not going to be able to run so much faster than those still fresh front runners to be able to pass them. So that's it for the reflection on the Rebel Stakes pick 4. I appreciate anybody watching. There was a lot to unpack there, a lot to learn, but this is kind of what it takes to become a better horse player as far as I'm concerned. You take the little nuggets of information, try to store them in your memory for the next time you're reading the racing form, and you do it enough, and more things start to stick and pile on and add up. And when you come across different race scenarios, you can remember some angles that worked out for you. Like today, we had some horses coming off of a layoff. We had some horses running second off of a layoff. We had maiden special weight where the top purchase price horse won that debuted in a stake. So lots of bits of information. It seems like a lot, but with consistency and determination, these things will start to add up. I know, again, it seems like a lot, but you really put in the time. Don't worry about remembering it all now. The repetitions will serve you well. Angles and trends will start to stick, and you'll eventually find a track where you can just see the ball well, where the races make sense to you. They run how you see them on paper, and when that happens, stick with the track, get to know it, and just start gaining that edge, and the information will add up. So thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, and or share with friends. If you know anyone that's interested in horse racing or wants to learn more about it, I have a couple of playlists. One, how to read a racing form, where I break down all the components of the racing form, which I know can seem daunting, but I really break it down into bite-sized pieces, talk about what it's telling you and what you can glean from it. Just really simply how to read the racing form. And I also have a playlist, Betting on Horse Racing, where I break down each of the bets that are offered at the track, talk about what they are, how much they cost, how to place them, and some things that I look for before I place such bets. So again, thanks to anybody for watching. I know it was a long one, but I hope you got some wisdom out of it. Leave comments. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you want to do next. I'll probably do another Kentucky Derby prospect video next, but if anyone has any other ideas, I'm open to suggestions. But thanks again to everybody for watching, and I'll see you all next time.